everyone, it's Mom from Tostemac, and I brought along Steven for the ride.
Yeah, I had to let her do the intro because I'd be doing it 3 to 5 times. It's just a common occurrence with me. So, as you may have seen in the title of the video, it's time for another Q&A session. Now, we haven't done one of these in a long while, but this time we have enough questions, and I think we'll go and give this a go, and we hope to answer the questions to the best of our ability. Ready?
Absolutely.
Alrighty. So, the first question is, where can I find good noise-canceling earphones or headphones, but not online? In other words, which store locations would have them?
Well, in this situation, I'm going to recommend that you go to specialty stores. So you want to go to electronic stores, you want to go to like your phone carriers, because oftentimes not only would they have the product you're looking for, but more importantly, the people behind the counter are going to know about the products. Noise canceling headphones come in a variety of things. I mean, it could be one where it literally just blocks the sound, versus the kind that you can listen to your phone on, versus you can play games, whatever the case may be. So you want to be able to talk to somebody who's knowledgeable about the product. So do a little bit of research. I would probably say again, Verizon, T-Mobile's, if you can find a Radio Shack in your area,
Assuming
or anything,
they haven't gone out of business.
Exactly. Anything even akin to that Radio Shack.
A couple other places I would recommend is Best Buy and Bass Pro. And you could also find some in like Walmart and Target, but those are just general stores. It's not really like a specialty thing. Plus, odds are the associates there may or may not know about those kind of particular headphones. But with Bass Pro and Best Buy, it's one of the products that they specialize in. Like, you'll find great quality headphones over at those two stores, and you'll most likely find someone who's an expert in terms of like finding the right headphones for you.
Right. And now understand that if you want a good quality noise blocking headphone, you're going to put a little bit of money into this, but remember, this is something that, should you take care of it, will last you quite a long time.
Right. So, the prices are there for a good reason. They're great quality. Those are the places we would recommend.
Correct.
So, our next question is, if you could go anywhere in the world, where would it be and why? Now, I have a couple recommendations myself, but what do you think?
So for me, we've moved and we've lived in several different states over the years. And so naturally for me, one place would be, I probably would want to go back to Maryland. I've got a lot of friends there that are like family
we all
to
do.
me. Absolutely. So that definitely would be one place. But then I also would want to explore something new. So for me, my heritage is Irish. So I'd want to go to places like Ireland, Scotland, and England. That area has always fascinated me. The history of the area has fascinated me. So I think those are the places I would choose, Stephen.
For me, assuming I ever make enough money to travel outside of the US, it would be either Japan or New Zealand. The reason I say Japan is not only because a lot of stuff I like video games and anime, a lot of it kind of originated from Japan, but there is a lot of culture and a lot of diversity there. One part of Japan could be very tech savvy, and another place could be ancient and steeped in history and tradition. So
Very
there's
rural.
so much to see and experience in Japan. Although I would take Thomas with me because he's more of an expert in that stuff than I am in terms of language and culture. So I would kind of have him along to, translate and make sure I'm not doing anything wrong.
And Thomas would absolutely enjoy that. He has always spoken of wanting to go to Japan. So I would be willing to lay in a bet that Thomas would like to do that as well.
The other place I would like to go to is New Zealand. And the reason for that is where they actually did the filming for the original Lord of the Rings movies. And Dad watches the shows and reads the books religiously. He probably knows every little detail like the back of his hand. So, and not only that, New Zealand's a very beautiful place. So I would like to go there. Maybe like make a family trip if we ever are able to do that.
That would be fun. I'd be willing to go to that.
Yeah. So those are the places that we would like to go to. Thanks for your question. Now, question number 3 is, what's your criteria for a successful holiday? For me, it's kind of simple, really. Just that everyone has a good time. People celebrate all sorts of things in all sorts of different ways. So it's not like there's a right way or a wrong way to hold a holiday celebration. You just do it and everyone has a good time.
Mm-hmm. Now, for me, a successful holiday is very similar to what Stephen's saying, but it's you've prepared for something. You've looked forward to something. Now, the custom of your family, the custom of your heritage, the custom of your environment will dictate the specifics. But for me, a successful holiday is being surrounded by the people I love and who love me, having good food, and it doesn't necessarily involve gifts coming towards me, but that the gifts that I give to others, well, whether it's I'm cooking something for them, or I crochet them something, or maybe I buy them something, that it's something that is personal to them and that they enjoy it as much as I enjoy giving it.
Yeah, so we try not to set like too many parameters. It's like the more details and specifications and parameters you put in, the more complex you make it, the more stressful it is, and the more likely it is to fail. So in terms of like holiday celebrations, I just like keeping it as simple as possible. Exactly.
Absolutely.
All right, so question number 4. Just gonna pull it up. All right, here we are. So this one's more for you because you're more of an expert in this than me.
Okay.
This one asks, any ideas to get fruit and vegetables into a 13-year-old who hates textures?
Actually, yes. I've got some experience.
Yeah, she's the expert in this, not me.
So the first off is, if the issue truly is textures, you can change the fruit into textures that they like. Slurpees, ice cream, ice pops.
Well, maybe not be too reliant on the ice cream part because there's like the issue with the sugar and whatnot.
Well, she's asking about consistency, so the texture. So I'm talking about how to change it from biting into an apple. Maybe I don't like using my teeth. I don't like the feel of that on my teeth.
So you kind of like cut the apple and maybe peel the skin off too, because that could also be it.
Absolutely. The other thing is what you're going to make it. You know, not all fruit has to be raw. Some of it, you know, the cup of fruit, that's still fruit, guys. Okay? So what you want to do is find out what the texture is that they don't like. And I'll give you an example with Stephen. So Stephen always had an aversion to food in his mouth. He did not like it, especially if it touched his lips, it was not going to work. But he had a grandmother who was just incredibly intelligent. And what she did is she would cut apples, or what he liked back then was these little mandarin slices, and she would cut them into tiny little slivers, into little triangles and squares and circles. So she made them look like different objects that he liked. And then she would play games with him, like she'd say, open your mouth, I'm going to flick it in your mouth. Or, and you remember that game with Grandma Louise? Or the other thing that she would do is she would let him squash it with his finger and then just put the fruit in his mouth. So he would put it on the back of his tongue, or she would play a game with him and she'd say, okay, Stephen, put it on the right side of the tongue, put it on the left side of the tongue. So it became a game. So you can change the texture, you can change the feeling, because like Stephen said when he was little, he didn't like those square waffles. He wants things poking in their mouth. Maybe they don't like cold in their mouth. Maybe they don't like their teeth, the food touching on their teeth. So get creative, make games. You know, maybe mix it in with some vegetables. You know, make a little man made of a celery stick with the legs going down and the carrot up here, and then put a grape on top, and that's his little man. So play games with the food, make fun.
All right. Then our last question is a little bit more involved per se. Actually, I'd ask for a bit of clarification on this one. This one asks, in the UK, most pupils have to do a week of work experience in year 10 when they're 14 or 15 years old. Mm-hmm. which they organize themselves. I know a young person with autism who hasn't arranged it yet. Their mom is offering to help organize it, but the young person is refusing to even discuss what they will do. Any tips to help this process go easier? Lots of stressful things about it, not knowing the place or people or what is expected. Now, I had to ask a little bit more clarification on it, and basically, for a week, the individual does not go to school, but instead they go to a job to find out what the job is like and what going to work every day is like. It helps them choose a career for when they leave school a few years later. The people can organize any job, they just have to persuade/ask a company to let them come for the week. They don't get paid, as really they are just observing what the job involves. For an autistic young person, this is really daunting, as it's something they've never done before, but they have to do it. The young person I know won't even discuss with their mom what type of job she might like to do for the week. I think it's all too unknown and it's causing lots of anxiety, so her mom doesn't know how to help her. And I'm actually kind of intrigued by this program because, it really helps prepare the individual for the real world. And I'm not really sure if schools in the U.S. do it, or at least I don't remember them doing it.
Well, the trade schools. So when you were at Old Mill,
Okay.
do you remember hearing about Old Mill North, and then there was Old Mill South?
Yeah, I remember that.
But then there was the program where you could go off-site and learn carpentry, learn mechanics, learn...
Isn't that IB stuff?
No, it wasn't. It was a part of the high school program, and your brother Daniel wanted to do it, and unfortunately I didn't know enough about it to let him do it, and so later on I paid a big bill for him to do. But basically what they did is the afternoon of one day a week, they would leave the high school and they would go over to this other school, which was a trade tech school. And over there, they would focus in on one thing and one thing only. You know, like Danny wanted to do auto mechanics. And so if he had done that, then that's what he was going to do. There was another boy that I knew, Joey. He was very interested in building things, so he went into carpentry. So they have a variety of programs here in the United States, but there's few, they're selected, and they're far between.
Well, yeah, and it sounds like that's just another school environment per se, but like those in the UK, it's like you're actually seeing the work environment itself.
Well, years go by. So back when I started, when I was in high school, I knew early on I wanted to be a nurse. And there were volunteer programs. And for me, in the world of nursing, that was called a program called the Candy Striper. And that's where I would be assigned to go to a local hospital, and I would wear literally a candy striped uniform. It was a dress, okay? This way everybody in the building would know who I was and what role I filled. Now, while I was in that role, I spent a couple of days in the accounting division learning how they did all the bookkeeping. How do you bring the money in? How do you record it? How do you send it over to the bank? Then I spent a couple of days in the operating room, which is what fascinated me. Now, I wasn't getting paid. It was all volunteer, which is what this sounds like.
Right, much like in this question.
Exactly. But the first thing that needs to happen is we need to talk to this autistic person. You got to remember something. Transition is not their friend. And that's what you're asking of this young person. So my first recommendation is look at what do they do in their day-to-day lives right now. So for example...
Like, what is their passion? What is it they're so focused about?
Right. So the thing is, like right now, if I was to say, let's choose Thomas. You all know about him, okay? Thomas is into gaming. He's into music, okay?
And also computer work stuff, too.
And computer work. If I was to try and send him to do nursing, number one, his anxiety level would go way up. Is it that he's not capable? No, he's very capable.
Well, it's just an environment he's not familiar with. It's not something he's worked in.
Exactly. And not only is that, but that's not where his heart is. So the first thing I'm going to recommend to the parent is what is in your child's heart? When that child is left to his or her own being, what do they do? With Stephen, it had to do with his camera. I mean, when he was younger, he would get a camera, he'd go outside, he'd take pictures of flowers, and while we were looking at the flower, he was looking at the spot on the ladybug on the flower. Okay? And so that we saw very quickly was a passion for him. So then I would go to a camera store and say, hey, Stephen wants to eventually maybe work with a camera. He has already got one in his hands. Could he maybe do his week with you? Okay.
Another thing I would do is kind of visit the place in question a few times first, if that's allowed.
Absolutely.
So that way, it's not like you're going right into the unknown.
Correct.
You actually have a little bit of familiarity with the environment and how it's going to work. So maybe just take the individual to that place a few times. Let them get accustomed to the place before you start talking to the people in charge about doing this program.
Right. So the first step is find out what is the child's passion. What gets their engines going in the morning. The second one is maybe visit that type of industry, whether it's a candy store, if he likes to make candy, if it is a auto mechanic shop, if that's what he wants to do, or she, or whatever it is, to make some visits. Then, and do this early enough so that the child has an opportunity to say, I can be a round peg in this square hole and I'll be okay. Because what's happening is you're trying to do a transition. You're trying to squeeze this round peg into a square hole, and nobody's ever comfortable with that. And it's something that he or she does not have a choice on. Let's give them some choices.
Right. Because it sounds like in this program, they can choose what area they want to work in. So use that to your full advantage. Like, figure out what exactly it is that the person wants to do. Let them get accustomed to the environment. And then have a talk with people in charge. Not only about, like, if they can arrange this to happen, but also help them understand the situation that, hey, this individual is autistic. They usually like routines, or they don't do this, they do that, stuff like that. Let the person know as much as they can about the individual in question to see what accommodations would have to be made, or if they're the right fit for this area, or that maybe there's somewhere else that they could recommend. Information is everything. So just be sure to give whatever information they need and get whatever information you need.
And Mom, don't worry. Our children don't want to hear us. But they will.
Hey, I like hearing you.
It's good. But they will remember, as we said in a different video, choose the time you want to talk to them. Okay? If you choose your time wisely, you'll have a better opportunity for them to hear you and to have that exchange and dialogue. Okay? Don't wait till they're on their phones doing this and then decide that that's when you're going to pick a phone, you're going to pick a conversation with them. Wait till it's the right time. Plan your time and get in there and bring up their passion and say, hey, why don't we check? Stephen, you really enjoy taking pictures with my camera. How about we go check out a couple of places to see if you can get some more good pictures?
Okay, that works.
And there he goes.
All right. So, those are the questions for our Q&A video. I hope we were able to answer them for you. So, next week we'll probably do one more video, a podcast about looking back at 2022, some ups and downs. And then after that, if there's anything else for the month of December, I'll let you know. And then the month of January, we usually take a break from content creating because it gives us time, step back, unwind.
Clean the house from the Christmas decorations.
That too. Just give us a break, time to refresh and come back fresh and new. So, I hope you enjoyed this Q&A video. Hope you look forward to the look back at 2022 next week. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, thanks to Mom for joining in.
You're most welcome.
And until the next video, see you later.